morning, everybody. I see one of the, thanks, Gerald. One of the song leaders, worship team, forgot their phone, so let's see if they get a call during the service. We'll work with it as it comes. Good to see everybody this morning. It's a beautiful day. Again, it seems like the Lord is keeping the nice days for us for Sundays, so we are grateful for it. If you're visiting with us this morning, maybe for the first time, wonderful to have you in the fellowship this morning. Some announcements just up in the front is that we have obviously not taken, is it your phone? Okay. He's just saying it's not. He's going to say sorry afterwards. Okay, so we have obviously not taken up a collection on Sundays for 2 years. I know that some people, it is a way that they want to give, and also particularly towards our compassion ministry. So from next Sunday, what we'll do is we will have contribution envelopes available. I think it's actually even available today at the back next to the communion for our friends visiting. And then what you can do is you can actually just place your collection into the envelope, mark what you want to give it to. There's usually 3 options: towards the running costs of the church, towards the compassion ministry, towards Mustard Seed Missions. And then at the back wall on my left-hand side, as you walk out, you'll see there's a little drop safe. You just drop it in there. Okay, so in that way, we don't have to have ushers handing out little things. We simplify matters and still give an opportunity for people who want to give to be able to do so. Also, with regards to communion, we still want to encourage people to bring their own communion supplies. And if you're visiting with us, we have available for you these little takeaway, little cups at the back. What we'll also do, I think we've sent it out in our Friday announcement. If you want to, you can also order those little cups for yourself. Okay, they vary in quality and in hardness. I think they vary something like 3 Rand to 6 Rand, depending on where you buy them from. We obviously simply just don't supply it at this stage for everybody, because it would be like 2,000 Rand a Sunday, which is a little bit unnecessary if you think of it, when we can bring our own. But you can also order that online and then just grab your little 6-pack on the way to church. Okay, I'm sure no minister has said that before. Okay, but you can take that option. Okay, enough about 6-packs. Maybe we need to pray. Maybe we need to pray, and then we'll jump into today's message. Just before we say a prayer, let me ask, who of us have had an opportunity to do that online assessment with regards to the Enneagram? Okay, about a third of us. Okay, so I would again encourage you, if you can, to do the online assessment. It will help you understand prayerfully yourself a little bit better, understand the messages that we're going to be teaching over the next couple of weeks a bit better, but also to be able to understand other people a bit better. Now, of those who has done the Enneagram, the online assessment, who of you are a 2, personality type 2? Okay, let me quickly see you. The 2. Wow, it's a small group that is obviously filled it out. So do you, the 5 of you, do you want to come and sit in front here? Okay, then we can see who you are. We're going to be speaking about the 2s. Let me say this, even if you're not a 2, there's the big thing here, as we'll get into just now after the prayer, is not just understanding yourself, but understanding other people. Okay, and how to come alongside them. But before we get into all of that, let's say a prayer. Father, thank you so much for a stunning day. Thank you for the gift of life. Thank you that each of us can sit here today, that we can participate, that we can hear the message, that we can sing together, that we can experience the fellowship, that we can experience you. I pray as we continue on this journey of discovery, of becoming the you that you want us to be, in other words, the people that we need to be in your eyes, Father, that you will guide us with discernment to be able to develop into those kind of people and to be able to help each other to do so. Please lead us this morning. I pray in your Son's name. Amen. Okay, so just as to where we are at currently, I'll do a bit of a recap from last week just so we know where we are. Because this is important for the whole series, this picture, both the physical picture and what it represents. It's the idea that in the beginning, God created the world. In it, He set a beautiful garden. In that garden, then He set mankind as His image, His icon. And the idea of mankind would be that they would reflect the very essence of God into creation, that they would be His hands, His feet, His mouth, that they would create flourishing communities. okay, that would bring honor and glory to him and reflect his splendor. In the Old Testament, first 5 books called the Torah, they were then given 613 commands or instructions as to what does it mean to be the image of God? What is the people of God? What should they look like? We then looked in the New Testament times when Jesus arrived on the scene. One of the experts of those Torah laws tested Jesus with this question. Teacher, he said, which is the greatest commandment in the Torah? Of the 613, which is the greatest? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, and mind. This is the first and the greatest command, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the Torah and the prophets hang on these 2 commandments. So out of the 613, he says, in essence, this is what it represents, is to be able to love God, is what we're after, honor him with our lives, and love one another as we love ourselves. Then we spoke about the fact that if we want to be those communities in relationship with God and one another, that one of the greatest predictors of success in my relationship with God and in my relationship with others is self-awareness. It's for me to be able to be aware of myself, and we loosely defined it as self-awareness being knowing how my habitual and predictable ways of thinking, acting, and feeling and doing either serve me or defeat me in my relationship with God and others. Knowing, this is very important, knowing how my habitual and predictable ways of thinking, acting, feeling, and doing, because we all have them, either serve me or defeat me, play in service of me building this garden, being a participant, or defeat the progress thereof in my relationship with God and with others. So a key question then to try and ask ourselves as we get to know ourselves is, how do I monitor and self-regulate then, real time, the way that I think, act, and feel and do in the moment? So in the moment, and the moment I realized I was having a conversation with an anonymous brother earlier on, he's going to do the communion later, who was saying to me that he found himself in this position even last night, where he could see, here I'm about to enter in conversation with someone into this predictable, habitual way of thinking, acting, feeling, doing. So I'm realizing it's here. How do I monitor and self-regulate in that moment so that, realizing it, I can move towards those around me with more emotional wisdom, kindness, love, thoughtfulness, and awareness. Now, he can share when he does the communion whether that happened. It's more not happened for me than what it has happened for me. But that is what we're striving for. It's that in the moment, I see this is coming. I'm self-aware. I'm about to say what I shouldn't. I'm about to say not what I should be saying. I self-regulate and I move towards people with wisdom, kindness, love, thoughtfulness, and awareness. So what helps us to be self-aware? Said there is a personality profiling system called the Enneagram. What is the Enneagram? It's a personality profiling system that teaches that there are 9 personality types, okay? One of which we naturally gravitate towards and adopt in childhood to feel safe, to protect ourselves. These are all very important words. To feel safe, to protect ourselves, and to navigate the world of relationships that we find ourselves in. Okay, so I adopt most probably a certain personality. I'm not married to it. There are nuances to it. It's not boxed. You're not restricted. Okay, but there is something that I gravitate towards in order to protect myself, feel safe, and navigate my world of relationships. Okay, so that's where we are. Now we're going to start talking about the different personality types. Now, there are 9. They work in triads. Okay, the triads basically fall into 3 categories. One group, a third of the group has a feeling center or operates from a feeling center. A third of the group operates from a thinking center, and then a third of the group operates from a gut center. Okay, so numbers, my little remote's having some struggles. The feeling center numbers 2, 3, 4. Again, this won't make sense to you, will make sense to you in time. Okay? But feeling center the numbers that operate from there are 2, 3, 4. Thinking center, although the thing doesn't want to click, is 5, 6, and 7. And then gut center is 8, 9, and 1. Okay? So people that are primarily acting out of a feeling center, personality type 2, 3, 4. Thinking center, 4, 5, 6. 5, 6, 7, gut center, 8, 9, 1. So we are therefore starting with number 2 just to work in the triad. The 2, type 2 is the helper or the nurturing supporter, the 5 sitting together there at the... Oh man, this is going to be a tough class for you guys because let's just to make them feel comfortable, let's all put up our hands when I say, who's a 2? Who's a 2? Who's a 2? Look at all the people. Look at all the people. You're not alone. Okay, the 2 is the helper or the nurturing supporter. What are they like? And don't look at these people, the poor 5 souls at the back there, but what can they be like? Okay? They feel deeply with other people's emotions. They're able to deeply resonate with other people's emotions. They're also able to identify your emotions and feel with you and feel for you, even if you cannot even identify your own emotion. Okay, that is if you think of it, a heavy cross to carry, actually. They tend to be, and I say tend, there's no black and white here. Okay, there are nuances in it, but they tend to be easy to get along with. When they join a group, people immediately are drawn to them. You'll see the type 2 personality comes into a group, and man, it's just, I come into a group and it's just, nothing happens, okay? But when they join a group, people are immediately drawn to them. They are warm, they are kind, they are caring, they are giving, they are not domineering in situations. Now, they can be when they're unhealthy. We'll get to that later, okay? But in general, they're not domineering, and they give space to others. They are gentle souls that are also considerate of the needs of all the people around them, and they are anxious to overcome misunderstandings in relationships. So when there's a misunderstanding, some people are like, I didn't even know there was a misunderstanding, or I don't care that there's a misunderstanding. The 2 is anxious about that misunderstanding, and therefore obviously wants to resolve it. They want their home to be a safe place for family and friends. So a warm home is welcoming, so I want people to want to be with me and be in my spot and be with us together. They are incredibly helpful. If we can click away, shake, shake, click, click. Maybe I should. There we go. They're the first to raise their hand when help is needed. Okay, you need help, a church needs somewhere, they raise their hand. They tend to be also the first to respond to a crisis. Again, crisis, we need to help out. The 2s will be the first to pitch in. And they're the last to leave the dinner party if there are indeed dishes to be washed because they want to be helpful. Okay, they appreciate it when people love them and do something unexpected for them. So as you hear this, I mean, it's just this wonderful, 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 wonderful people. Why the murmur? Okay, now, again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to learn together in order to understand ourselves and understand other people better, and understand what motivates myself or what motivates others. Because if I'm able to understand what motivates me and what motivates others, again, I can understand myself better, I can understand more why they do what they do. And you'll see that each of the personality types has an interesting motivation. Now, the motivation is an unconscious motivation. So it's not necessarily, it can be conscious, but usually it's unconscious as to why am I actually doing what I'm doing. And the 2 is one of their big motivations. Again, if my clicking will, I'm not sure if the guys maybe have another clicker for me that we can use while we try and figure this out. But bottom line is what they're motivated by is by a need to be loved, wanted, and needed. Okay, they're motivated by a need to be loved, wanted, and needed. They usually also avoid acknowledging their own needs in order to avoid rejection. Okay, so what motivates me in all this behavior? To be helpful, to be considerate, to be compassionate, to be caring, to be the first to respond. As I want to feel like I am wanted. I want to feel like I'm loved. I want to feel like I'm needed. And while I'm doing that, I can also avoid my own needs because I'm afraid when I voice my own needs that people will reject me. Okay, and I don't want to do that. And so what then happens at the end, because of all of the serving and all meeting the needs of others, it can lead to poor self-care, burnout, and possible resentment as you feel that people are taking advantage of you because you are so generous in your consideration of other people. Now, that's the motivation. They then also, each personality type has what I call or what others call, not me, but I call it that as well, a superpower. Okay, in other words, what are they just incredibly gifted at to do that we aren't able to necessarily do so easily? One is they have an amazing way of making other people feel comfortable. As I said before, they can sense what other people are feeling. They can sense it so well that they are basically able to walk into a party and they can discern who had a fight on the way over. It seems like it's working again, but let's work with what we have, okay? They are able to sense in the room who in the room had a fight on the way over to the party, who at the party actually would rather be home watching Netflix, okay? Now, so never go to those people again. You know the 5 at the back there. Let's see if this one works. No, this one doesn't work either. So let's maybe go back to the old one. Better than half working. So they're able to sense all of those things as they are there, intuitively, unconsciously, aware of it, and obviously also responding to it. They are attuned and also responsive to people's pain. Thank you. They are great listeners. Let's just catch up here. And they are the most caring, supportive, and kind people on this earth, most probably, and on the Enneagram. Okay, they are upbeat. They are able to help us see the needs of those around us and how to show up for them in a tangible way. So this would be someone who's going through a crisis, someone who's going through difficulty. They have lost someone in their family. They are facing a challenge at home. They are the first ones to tend to notice those things and figure out, how do we help? How do we as a family group help? How do we as a family help? How do we as a church help? Famous people that are a type 2 on the Enneagram, the helper or the nurturing supporter would be. And that's why sometimes I see, is that Marietta laughing? Okay. So sometimes you can be like a Mother Teresa or a Desmond Tutu or Princess Diana. Okay, these are famous people that operate out of that personality center, if you may. But everyone also, each personality type also has a dark side to them. Sorry, what was that? Okay, each personality type. So don't judge, because we're coming to you. Okay, so each personality type has a dark side about them. And what is best about your number is also what is worst about your number. It's great to have the gift of being attuned to other people's needs and helping them, but it's never good when you leverage your superpower to manipulate people towards your end. But that can happen. I'm not saying it's happening with the 5 at the back there, but it can happen. Number 2, 3, and 4 represent the most emotionally orientated, relationship-centered, and image-conscious numbers on the Enneagram. All 3 of those types believe they can't be loved for who they are, So they project unconsciously a false image they believe will win the approval of people around them. Twos need to be needed, and therefore they rely on other people needing them to sustain their fluctuating self-worth. And as we're going through this, again, if you're a two, we're not making a judgment here. We're trying to unpack human nature as to who we are and understanding ourselves. Presenting a cheerful, likable image and helping others is their unconscious strategy. They don't do it consciously, unconscious strategy of winning people's love. For twos, words of appreciation can border on intoxicating. When you say things like, "What would I do without you?" or "You are a lifesaver," it makes them feel good, very good. Billie Eilish liking your TikTok, good, okay? It's built into the human nature. Pride is the deadly sin of the two, and that obviously sounds absurd because twos appear more selfless than self-absorbed or self-inflated, but pride lingers in the heart of the two. It reveals itself in the way that they focus all their attention and energy on meeting the needs of others, while at the same time giving the impression that they have no needs of their own. Again, unconsciously, they believe other people are more needy than they are, and they alone know what is best for what others require. They can easily believe in the light and the myth of their own indispensability. People cannot live without me. Twos can also be random givers that can impose assistance and advice on those they deem to be weaker, less experienced, and less capable of managing their lives than they are. It is easy for them to think that people would be lost without them. Twos love to jump on their white horse to save the day when others require assistance. But they can't imagine someone else lending them a hand when the situation is reversed. As a matter of fact, they rarely ask for help, at least not directly, and they don't know how to receive it when it is indeed offered. It makes sense to twos that others must rely on them, but they must never rely on others. What lies beneath this? Pride. What lies beneath the pride? Terror. Why terror? Fear that acknowledging their own wants will end in humiliation, and that directly asking someone to fulfill their needs will lead to rejection. So the two by nature, I want to feel valued, I want to feel loved, I want to feel wanted. But when I ask you for something, I'm afraid that in asking you, I'm going to be humiliated, or I'm going to be rejected because you're going to say no, and I cannot live with that. And so instead of then helping you, instead of allowing you to help me or asking directly, I will either manipulate you to do what I want you to do, or I will just keep on helping others so that they would love me and that I would be okay with myself. What if the person refuses me, they ask? How would I live with the shame and the humiliation? It would only confirm what I've known all along. I am unworthy of love. Though they're not always conscious of it, the help that the immature two provides others then comes with strings attached. They want something in return. Love, appreciation, attention, or the unspoken promise of future emotional or material support. Their giving can then easily become calculated and manipulative. Twos think that if they can force appreciation and approval, again, this all happens unconsciously, if they can force appreciation and approval and evoke feelings of indebtedness in others, then others will sense when they require help and provide for their needs without them having to ask for it. Unconsciously, they are drawing up a kind of a favor for favor agreement. I'll be there for you as long as you promise to be there for me without me having to acknowledge it or asking you for the help. Twos believe they live in a world in which you have to be needed before you can be loved, and where you have to give in order to get. And because they don't believe that you would keep them around if they ever fail to render you service, they find it hard to put a cap on the energy they'll devote to taking care of you. Those are two very extreme ends. Superpower, dark side. Now, we have to remember a couple of things here, okay? One is, what is the purpose of the exercise? We want to be garden people. Two, in order to be garden people, I need to be self-aware. I need to know how my habitual, predictable ways of thinking, acting, feeling either serves me or defeats me in my relationship with you and others, and then I want to self-regulate when I'm in that moment. But also, if this is the two, and I'm standing on the side here, and I'm now experiencing this person, because I'm a 8. We'll get to that later. Okay? One of the gifts of the 8 yes. Do 8s not have gifts, Andrea? Who's an 8? Do we have any 8s? Okay, 1, 2. Okay, we have 8s. You might be 8, you might not be 8. But one of the 8s, certainly a gift that this 8 has, is I can sniff fake. Like a mile away, okay? I can sniff it. It's just, I don't even have to do that. It's just there. So, poor 2s with me, if you're trying to manipulate me, that ain't going to work. Because I sniff the manipulation. I'm like, yeah, something's off here. Very off. And it's you. Okay? But now, if I have understanding, so what do I do? Okay, so here I am. I'm an 8. Here's a 2. The 2 is seeking love. They are projecting it in the wrong way. I'm sitting here. I'm fake. Okay, so I challenge the manipulation. What do they need? Love. Is my challenging their manipulation helping them to feel love? No, it will push them deeper into their hole, wanting more. The love, the attention, the care. And so not only does the 2 need to be self-aware, I need to be self-aware, and I need to realize that I can have an effect on them, and that I need to actually do the opposite than what I feel like doing, because we're all our own worst enemy. I'm seeking love, but I manipulate. Manipulation never brings love. But then on this side, we don't respond to manipulation if we can see it and say that we don't love, we don't give people what they need. And you'll see this interaction playing out all the time with all the numbers. So there are 2 very extreme ends. Here, the 2 has a superpower. And remember the title of our series, The You That God Wants You to Be. Okay, so the 2 has a superpower. The 2 must not be a 1, a 3, a 5, a 8, a 9, or whatever. The 2 is meant to be a 2. So what is the continuum? Here we now spoke about the dark side. Someone is very unhealthy. On this side, someone is very healthy in their own being and spiritually. How does the continuum work? Okay, so you get unhealthy, then you get autopilot, then you get healthy over here. Okay, and so we obviously want to move. That just doesn't want to come up, but imagine that it's there. Okay, so you get unhealthy, autopilot, and healthy. How do I move from unhealthy through to autopilot and to healthy? So unhealthy is, I'm not in a good space. I'm under stress. My life is falling apart. I'm out of whack. I'm out of sorts. And I act in unhealthy ways. Autopilot is, I'm not attuned to life. I'm not self-aware anymore. I'm not necessarily unhealthy and an extreme behavior, but I'm on autopilot. I'm convinced maybe that if I express my own needs and feelings, it will automatically destabilize relationships. But at the same time, I'm still generous. Okay? But at the same time as I'm generous, I'm also expecting something in return. I'm on autopilot. I'm just going the way that I'm wired. What about healthy? A healthy 2 feels secure. The healthy 2 is okay to not having to pretend to love everybody. I'm actually healthy. I don't have to meet everybody's needs. I don't have to be there for exactly every person. And they still feel good about themselves even when they are not busy helping someone else. The security who has an understanding for their need of self-care and are able to invest in themselves by doing things that brings them joy. The healthy too is able to name their own needs and feelings without fear of losing relationship, while at the same time still being generous in their efforts to love well and serve others. These happy and secure twos also have appropriate boundaries, knowing what is theirs to do and what is not theirs to do. They don't have to do everything. Again, they don't have to be there for everyone. Lovable and loving, they adapt well to changing circumstances and are aware of the true self that exists beyond relationships with others. If you're a two, that is the two that God wants you to be. That is the image that He wants you to bear. But if I'm over here on this side, how do I then get to that side? What kind of spiritual transformation do I need to go through if I'm unhealthy to move through to autopilot and move into the healthy zone? In Romans 2, and this scripture applies to all the personality types, says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." In other words, I need to start thinking in a new way. What is the healing message that the two needs to hear? You are wanted. Your needs matter. We love you. God loves you without all the service, without having to pretend to be someone that you're not in that moment. You are loved. You are needed. You need to learn by the transforming of your mind to express your own desires. What are my needs? You need to learn to move from self-interested giving to kind-hearted giving. That I'm not giving to get back, I'm giving just because I want to act in service of God and hope that you can be a beneficiary of it. Twos, in closing, might find it helpful to read the story of Mary and Martha in Luke chapter 10. I think many of us are familiar with that story, that when Jesus and his friends arrive at Mary and Martha's house, Martha does what any too good to would do, which is set out to making sure that everyone around the table is comfortable and everyone's needs are met. She has most probably already washed Jesus' feet, and she is now running around to the point of distraction, making dinner, while her good-for-nothing sister Mary is just chilling at Jesus' feet. Martha starts feeling jealous and resentful. Everyone else is in the living room chowing snacks and laughing, while she's working her butt off in the kitchen cooking the lamb. Martha, it says in Luke 10:40, was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. Busy, busy, busy. She came to Jesus and asked, "Lord, don't you care?" That's pretty bold. Unhealthy too. Unhealthy too can be very confrontational. "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me." I heard someone say, hell has no fury like an overworked two who is feeling underappreciated. Jesus knows what's really going on, and he says, "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken from her." For twos, the lesson is simple. Sometimes you think you are serving God or other people when in actual fact you are not. Sometimes all the doing and caretaking is not actually what God is asking you to do. The Bible never tells us that Martha asked Jesus what he wanted. She took it on herself to make a big deal about all the preparations. Maybe God simply wants to, and all of us for that matter, to spend more time just relaxing in His presence. If twos are going to have to learn to attend to their own needs as much as they pay attention to the needs of others, they have to do, and all of us have to do, the work of our soul in solitude. Martha thought that Mary was the key to her finding peace. Tell her to help me. When it was Jesus who was the key to her peace. Martha welcomed Jesus into her home, but Mary welcomed him into her heart. I want to say to the twos today, you are wanted, you are needed. I want to encourage you to continue to invite Jesus into your heart. God bless. Amen.